You say that you want her honesty, and you crave her vulnerability, and you long for real connection, like no games, no walls, no pretense. But the question is, what are you offering her? Are you offering a polished version of yourself, or a carefully curated mask, or a performance that's so convincing that even you've started believing it? See, you can't demand real love while you're offering fake currency. You can't ask for truth and hand her a lie. But it's the mask that we wear, isn't it? See, from the moment that we first realize that it's dangerous to be fully seen, we begin crafting this mask. And for some, it's the mask of high achievers, right? Always successful, always in control. For others, it's the mask of the nice guy, being agreeable, pleasant, never rocking the boat. And so we wear the mask because we're convinced that the real us isn't good enough. And so we hide because we're terrified that if someone really knew us, the messy, complicated, imperfect us, they'd walk. And so we offer a version of ourselves that feels safer, or more acceptable, or more lovable. And here's the thing. Love that is built on a mask isn't love. It's a performance. And deep down, both people know it. See, you can't connect to someone through a wall. You can't build intimacy with someone who won't show up. But there's a lie of performance as well. You see, performance whispers, be perfect, and then they'll stay, right? Or be agreeable, and they'll approve. Or be impressive, and then they'll choose you. But performance always comes at a cost. It costs you your peace. It costs you your authenticity. It costs you your freedom. And so you become imprisoned in the very image that you created. And while you might gain some approval, what you're losing is far greater. And that's the chance to be truly known, truly loved, truly free. But here's why I believe you crave her honesty. You want her honesty because you're starving for something real. You're tired of the shallow conversations. You're tired of guessing what's behind her smile. You're tired of feeling alone, even when you're not. But here's the part that we don't like to admit, though. The thing is, you crave her honesty, but you're terrified to offer your own. Because honesty requires risk. And it requires you to say, this is who I am. No mask, no armor. Will you stay? It requires you to stand there naked in front of your truth and risk her walking away. And yes, that's terrifying in a prospect, but it's also the only way to real connection. See, there's this man who couldn't drop the mask that I knew of once. I worked with him. I'm going to call him Eli. Eli was the guy that everyone liked. He was charming. He was successful. He was always quick with the joke and always ready with the right answer. But underneath this polished exterior, Eli was hollow. He craved real connection, but no one actually knew him. They knew the mask. And when his relationship started to crumble, he couldn't understand why. He'd done everything right. He'd been everything that she said that she wanted in that relationship. But she left anyway. And she said something that Eli would never forget. She said, I liked you, but I never knew you. Eli realized then that he'd offered her a performance, but not a person. And performance might entertain, but it can't connect. So I think this is why we hide. I think we hide because somewhere along the way, we learned that being real is dangerous. And maybe we opened up once upon a time, and in that experience we got hurt. Maybe we showed our true selves and we were mocked or abandoned or misunderstood. And so we made a vow, a promise then, never again. It's better to be accepted for the fake us than rejected for the real us. But the problem is this: the fake you cannot be loved. It's only the real version of you that can be loved. And every day that you hide, you're teaching yourself that the lie, that the real you isn't lovable. Freedom really starts when freedom stops, when you stop believing the lie. But there's a price to hiding, isn't there? See, every time that you hide, you're paying a price. It's not an immediate price, it's slow. It's a drip, kind of a erosion of your peace. Until you wake up one day realizing that you don't actually know who you are anymore. I mean, not really. You know how to act, yes. You know how to please. You know how to adapt to what others want to get from you, but you've lost touch with what you want, what you need, what you feel. You've in essence traded connection for control. You've traded love for approval, or freedom for a sense of safety. And the truth is, it's not working. It never really did work. Because no one can love the man that you're pretending to be. At least they can't love that version deeply or truly. They might stay, they might smile, they might say all the right things. But deep down you'll know. They don't really know you. And worse, you don't really know you either. But here's what I think that she's actually looking for. This is the part that, again, most men miss. So listen carefully. I think real women, are not looking for perfect. They're looking for real. They're not looking for the man who always says the right thing, or does the right thing, or never shows weakness or doubt. They're looking for the man who is brave enough to show up as he is. The man who is honest about his fears, his desires, his uncertainties. The man who doesn't hide behind performance. Because here's the thing: performance might impress for a season, but it doesn't build connection. And connection is what I think she's really after. Not the resume, not the curated version of you, but the real you. The messy, complicated, beautiful human that's underneath that armor that you might be wearing. And when you offer her that truth, when you offer her yourself without the mask, without the armor, you don't just invite her into honesty, you're inviting her into the possibility of love, of connection. Let me tell you about this other guy. I'm gonna call him Marco. Yeah, Marco. Marco spent his whole life trying to be the man that everyone admired. Successful career, impeccable image, charming in every social situation he was in. But inside, Marco was lonely, and he was disconnected, and he was exhausted. And he got into a relationship with a woman that he genuinely cared about. And he wanted her honesty. He wanted her trust. He wanted her vulnerability. But no matter how hard he tried, he stayed guarded himself. And then one night, after an argument about something trivial, Marco broke. He sat down, head in his hands, and he said, "I don't know how to do this. I'm scared. I'm tired of pretending that I have it all figured out." And for the first time, she leaned in. She didn't lean away. She leaned in. She didn't need him to be perfect. She needed him to be real. That conversation changed everything in their relationship. It wasn't the polished version of Marco that invited her trust. It was the real, the messy, imperfect man underneath that veneer that he'd curated. But here's why I believe performance feels safer. You see, performance, it gives you this illusion of control. See, when you're performing, you get to curate what people see. You get to minimize the risk. You get to protect yourself from this thing of rejection. But the safety is an illusion. Because even if they accept the version of you that you show them, you're still alone behind that mask. And you can't truly connect if you're not truly present. You can't truly be loved if you're not truly seen. See, every moment spent hiding costs you the thing that you're longing for the most, and that is real intimacy. The very thing that fear promises to protect, and that is rejection, is exactly what performance ensures. You see, it's not rejection by others necessarily, but rejection ultimately by yourself. Every time you hide, every time you tell yourself that you're not enough, that's what happens. Freedom starts with refusing to believe that anymore. But there's a fear beneath the mask too, isn't there? See, if you peel back the layers, you'll not find pride or arrogance that makes you perform, but fear is the real motivating catalyst. Fear of being seen or found lacking. Fear of being rejected for who you really are. Fear of being vulnerable and getting hurt. Fear of disappointing someone that you really care about and love. And these fears are not weaknesses. These fears are part of our human experience and needing to be legitimized. But what you do with these fears actually matters. You can let the fear dictate your life, shaping every word and every action in every relationship. Or you can face your fears. You can name them. You can refuse to let them make the choices for you. See, freedom doesn't mean that fear vanishes. It just means fear loses its power to steer your life. And the first step in moving toward real connection is simple. It's simple, but it's not easy. And that is, you have to stop performing and you have to risk being seen. It's not the curated you that we're talking about, it's the real you. So what happens when you drop the act? What happens when you drop the act is a few things actually, and not all of them are comfortable. First, I think you'll feel naked, you'll feel exposed, you'll feel raw, because you've spent so long behind the armor that being without the armor feels wrong and even dangerous. And you might even scare yourself a little bit. Hearing your real voice and feeling your real desires, speaking your real truth. Whew. But then something else happens. And that is you begin to feel alive. You begin to feel present. You begin to feel known. Maybe for the first time in your life. And while not everyone will like the real you, the ones who stay will love you in ways that the fake you could never have experienced, because now you're giving them something real to hold on to. Now, this reminds me of this other guy. I'm going to call this one here Sam. Let's call him Sam. Sam was the golden boy. He was the golden boy in his career, in his social circles, even in his relationship. Always smiling, always agreeable, yes, always on. And deep down, Sam felt hollow. And when he finally decided to stop performing, it was messy. Some friends did drift away, and some colleagues treated him differently. And even his girlfriend struggled at first with the man who wasn't easy to manage. But Sam kept going. He kept telling the truth. He kept showing up as he was, not who they thought he was, or who they thought he wanted, who he thought they wanted him to be. And slowly new people started showing up in his life. People who loved the real Sam, not the performer. He lost approval, yes, but he also found something far better. He found himself. See, real intimacy requires risk. You cannot have real intimacy without risk. You cannot have real love without honesty. And if you want her honesty, if you want her real thoughts, her real feelings, her real presence, well, you have to offer yours first. It's not fair to demand vulnerability from someone else while you're hiding behind your walls. It's not fair to ask her for their truth while you're offering your performance. Connection is built not on perfection, but it's built on courage. The courage to say, this is who I am. Will you still choose me despite this is who I am? And here's a secret. Most people are starving for someone to go first. When you drop your mask, you're giving them permission to drop theirs as well. And you're creating the conditions where honesty can thrive. And you can't force intimacy, but you can invite it by being real first. Here's what freedom from fear looks like, okay? Freedom from fear does not look like never feeling afraid anymore. It looks like feeling the fear and showing up anyways. It looks like saying the hard things even when your voice feels shaky. It looks like being honest about what you want and what you need and what you cannot accept, even if it risks conflict. It looks like standing there whole and unhidden, trusting that the right people will stay and that the wrong ones will leave. Freedom from fear is not about control. It's about surrender. Surrendering to the need to manage how others are seeing you. It's about choosing integrity over approval, about choosing self-respect over people-pleasing, about real connection over hollow validation. It's about becoming the kind of man who no longer performs for love, because now he knows it's always been there, his worth. So the invitation I want to offer you is to something deeper. So here's the real question. What kind of life do you want? Do you want a life of performance, of applause for a man that you're pretending to be, of relationships that are built on illusion and fear? Or do you want something real? Do you want to be known, not just admired, but known? Do you want to be loved, not just tolerated, but loved deeply? Do you want to be free, not just one who's approved of? Because you can have that kind of a life, and it is possible. And it's definitely waiting for you, but it requires something first. It requires first that you stop hiding. It requires that you put down the mask, that you step out from behind the performance and stand there shaky and real but whole. It requires that you offer the very thing that you're asking from her, which is honesty. Not curated honesty, nor polished, nor perfect, but real. The life that he wants, the love that he wants, it doesn't come through performance. It comes instead through presence. So here's your first step toward freedom that I would propose. It's not going to happen overnight, and it won't be neat or tidy. There will be awkward conversations. There will be moments when you want to retreat back into the familiar comfort of performance. And there will be fears that whisper, this is too much, or you're too much. But freedom is worth it. Real love is worth it. The life that you're seeking, where you're known, loved, just as you are, is worth it. And it starts with this single choice, and that is to be real today. Not tomorrow, not when you're more polished, not when you're more impressive, but today. To risk honesty, even if your voice begins to shake. To risk being seen, even when it's terrifying. To risk being loved, even if it's not guaranteed. That's the first step towards freedom from fear. And it's a step that only you can take. Let me tell you this final story here before I close. Yeah, this guy, I'm going to name this one here David. Coming up with names is tough. But David lived most of his life trying to earn love, trying to impress, trying to be enough. And one day, exhausted by his own performance, he sat down across from someone he loved and said something that he had never said before. He said, "I'm scared and I don't know what I'm doing, but I want to stop hiding." And something really amazing happened for him. The world didn't end. And she didn't run, but she leaned in, because David finally gave her someone real to connect to, someone real to love. And that moment changed everything for him. And it was not because it erased all his fears, but because it actually showed him that he didn't have to be fearless to be loved. He just had to be real. So it's your turn. You want her honesty, right? You want her love. You want connection that actually fills instead of drains you, right? This all starts with you, though. It starts with a risk to stop performing, and it starts with a courage to be seen. So here's what I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you on this one here. Have you ever caught yourself performing for love and realized that it was leaving you lonelier than you felt before? Or have you ever dropped the act and found connection waiting for you on the other side? I'd love for you to share your story in the comments below. And do this not just for me, not because I'm asking only, but do it for every man out there who's still hiding behind a mask, wondering if it's actually safe to be real. Because your honesty might be the very invitation that they have been waiting for. Would you do that for me? I would appreciate that. Thank you for listening through again to another episode where we talk about deep things. But you wrestling through these considerations with me is an investment in you, and I appreciate you for taking that. I'll see you in the next episode.